And what's going on, guys? It's your boy Aussie here. Dropping my first video on this channel. This channel is just gonna be conversations. I'm throw a little bit of the foodie thing in it because we gotta get in on that delicious food. We gotta taste the waters. We gotta test the waters every time. But I really wanted to make content specific for this channel because my other channel is more so about hiking, vlogs and just trying different things, going different places, right? But this channel, I want it to be more based on stuff that other people can relate to. Not everybody's into hiking. Not everybody's in a position where they can travel, even if it's just another state over. Um, it's 2023. The recession is here, which is just another tax. But I wanted to make this clear cut video on how I became homeless. So it was around 2015, 2016, around that time. I've been through a lot since then, so forgive me if I can't get the accuracy on the dates. But it was around 2015, 2016. I was living in Maryland with my sister at the time, and I had kind of gave up my education to help my sister to be a full time babysitter for my nephews. Fathers were doing what they doing. Sometimes they would be gone like all day, and kids didn't eat, weren't fed, or anything like that. So I was like, you know what, sis, I'm a look out, right? And I did that, and I don't have no regrets to that because at the time, whether I was treated fairly for my decision or not didn't matter. I knew I was doing the right thing, right? At least that's what my mindset was and where it is today. I do have moments where I think and I'm like, okay, well, what if I didn't do that? Where would I be today? But to sit there and to really constantly ponder about the what if and the did this happen? What if this had happened? What if this happened? It's kind of nonsense, right? There's really nothing tangible to put my mind through that, right? So I was staying with my sister and I just jumped off the porch. So I'm hanging out, I'm with the guys, I'm doing what I do. Um, and I wasn't really coming back to the house like that. Like my sister would probably see me maybe twice a month. Um, and me and my sister, we were never really on good terms. Me and my sister have always kind of had this rocky relationship. She's a Capricorn, I'm a Leo. So if you guys can do the math with that, then do the math, right? But we never really had like a stable relationship when it comes to brother and sister. Um, During that period of time, I experienced mental abuse, emotional abuse from my sister. Her dealing with the BMs. I said the BMs. She's the BM. Dealing with the baby fathers and the BFs at that time. Um, I was just the emotional punching bag, if you will. And we fell out, and we fall on and fall off and fall on and fall off. One day, I had came to grab some of the rest of my clothes that were there because me and the fellas, we was trying to hit a party, and I wanted to look good. Didn't have much, but I knew I had some better looking clothes than what I had, so I wanted to look good. And I remember it clear as day. I get there, and my sister's like, "Hey, I know you're about to hit out with your boys, but we're going to church tomorrow. So if you're not here tomorrow, then you're not here, right?" So I'm like, all right, well, as long as I go to church, doesn't really matter, right? So I wound up going out with my boys, stayed out, went to church that next morning, told my sister about the sermon, broke it down, the whole thing, right? She wasn't hearing it, and she kicked me out. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? I'm out on the streets. I don't have a job. I'm fucked, right? I'm in a bad spot in my life, and I'm like, all right, I don't know really much of the people out here, and the people I do know, they're kind of in a predicament themselves. So I can't really ask them. So I'm like, okay, what can I do? So I went to the library in the area I was in. I would stay at the library and I would nap during the day. But I would also get on the computer and look up survival skills. Um, Luckily for me, the area that I was staying at when I was homeless, there was a homeless guy who lived there, and he had just a bunch of different things that I later used to my disposal. Like he had these tarps, he had like blankets and sheets and stuff like that. So out of the materials that he left, I built a shammy shim sham version of a tent. Um, I got a job at the local Burger King, and I used those funds to get fire starters, a little stove, little camp stove, a camping bed, and stuff like that. Just that because essentially I was camping, right? As you're homeless, if you're living in the woods, essentially you're camping, right? You just don't got no other place to camp to. And this was dead winter. This is when we had like a really, really, really shitty snowstorm here in Maryland, and I think we got like 6 feet. Like it was something crazy. Like we had got so much snow that year. It was something crazy, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna figure it out. I don't know how I'm gonna figure it out, but I'm gonna figure it out. So I took the tarps that the gentleman had left. Thanks, God, if you're reviewing this. And I hoisted them up onto the trees. I used hammers and nails to kind of get like a wall going, so that way when I do sleep, I would have that wind resistance, you know. Um, so I took 4 of the sheets and tarps and I nailed them each to a tree. And in that local area, there were deer, raccoons, foxes. The norm, right? The normal creatures that come around doing from the dusk to dawn era. And I was like, well, man, I gotta find a place to put my food. Where am I gonna put my food? So there was a rope there, and I was like, okay, well, I can do something with this rope. So I walked to the Walmart, had to cross the highway. Um, just to let you guys know, like it was rough, like it was really rough. And at the time, I believe I didn't really know that like plant because I had a gym membership, but I didn't know that gyms had like showers or stuff. Like I had no idea. Like this, there was no concept of, okay, if I go sweating there, I could shower there also. There was no concept of that. It didn't really even pass my mind, and I barely used it at the time because I was so depressed. I was like trying to drink every day, not even so much as because of my depression that added a part to it, but to stay warm. I like it was that cold outside, and oof, getting a little teary eyed just thinking about it. I get a little emotional, guys. Hold on, but it was a very rough time in my life, and I think in that part of my life, I've learned a lot about myself. Because before that, and I'm gonna sound like a but you know, just being completely transparent, I didn't necessarily used to make fun of homeless people when I was younger, um, per se. I just didn't understand it, right? So when I would see somebody strung out, or I see a homeless dude and he smells like, who did it and why, you know, at the time I didn't know why these people were smelling. I thought they just walked outside like that. Like I was raised very sheltered when it comes to my mom. Um, but then at one point that sheltering went to just you on your own. So a lot of things that most kids are taught and they learn at a young age, I didn't learn to a few years later. Like social cues and how to interact with people and stuff like that. I learned that a lot later on in life, right? And it was rough. It was a rough scenario, but it taught me so much. It taught me to value myself, my time, you know, what I'm willing to do for people, where that line is drawn at. Because in honest retrospect, I should have never done that. I should have never sacrificed my education to be there, to be a full-time babysitter, right? I should have never done that, and I don't regret doing it, because at the end of the day, like I said, I knew I was doing the right thing for my family. Um, so there is no regrets in that, but just, full circle, looking back at it, probably wasn't a good idea, right? So about a year passed. I'm working at Burger King. I'm sleeping in the forest. Some nights I'm sleeping at a Motel 6 because it was, motel dirt cheap, $50, 50, $60. You got a room for the night. You got a warm bed, you got a nice warm room. Um, and about a year and a half later, I decided, let me try calling. So I picked up the phone that I had and I was like, I got like $13 and I need to leave. I had a dream that night, and the Most High came to me in my dream, and He was like, "If you stay out here, you're either going to die out here, or you're going to spend the rest of your life in jail out here." And I woke up crying. I'm not one of those guys that's going to come to try to tell you a story to persuade you or to do anything like that. Like, I'm getting chills just thinking about it right now. Like, the Most High came to me in my sleep, and He said, "Hey, if you stay here, you are going to die or go to jail here for the rest of your life." And like I said, I woke up crying and I couldn't stop crying. And it wasn't even like, that scared or that fear kind of crying. It was just like a release, right? You ever get one of those cries where you're releasing. You're not necessarily sad, you're not necessarily mad. It's just like, yo, I've had enough. It was one of those. And I've learned a plethora of things about life, myself, people, situations, how life works. I learned so many things from that experience. Um, in no way, shape, or form about saying that somebody that you should give up your home to be homeless. Not saying that at all. If you got a decent place to stay at your decent place to stay. But what I am saying is that when you see people on the street, and they might be down on their luck, or they might be strung out, or you don't know their situations, right? And that's just the very premise of what I'm saying. Like, you don't know these people's situations, and you know how they got there. Some people are homeless by choice. When during my homeless time, I've spoken to, it was this one man, and he lived in a tent, and he lived across from the Royal Farms and the CVS, like not necessarily the parking lot, but like where the grass is, right? And one day, I had I think I was panhandling, and no, excuse me, wasn't panhandling. I cashed my check, and I had about $100, $100 to like spend. I was saving the rest, right? And I treated the guy to lunch, and we were just chatting it up, talking about stuff, life, being homeless, right? And I asked the guy because he was an older man, like he wasn't like in his late 20s, maybe 30s, like all gray. Like the dude had to be in his 50s, maybe 60s. And I asked him, I was like, "Sir, I don't mean to get in your business or anything, but how did you end up in this situation?" And he told me verbatim that, bills are shitty. He had served in one of the wars. I can't remember exactly which one it was. I think it was Vietnam, and things went up on like the insurance and everything like that. And he had a breaking point where he was just like, what, I'm done with bills. I'm gonna live life on my own terms. It might suck, but this is how we lived originally. Like, we didn't have bills, we didn't have rent, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, we didn't have to pay somebody to live here. Like, we just lived. And honestly, like one of the most humbling conversations I've ever had with any human being. So that's it for this story, guys. I just kind of wanted to break in a channel with a humbling story about myself and being homeless. depending on your perspective, it can make or break you. But if you guys liking the content, raw, uncut content, there's no editing, there's no, I'm holding the phone, right? The camera qualities and all that, but we'll get there, right? So, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm out of here.